Do you want to hit those sweet snipes like you're in phase? Well, luckily enough, here's the ultimate Vindicta guide you need for Deadlock. Like the video if you like it, subscribe if you're new, and well, let's get started. Firstly, I want to talk about the backstory of Vindicta and what her playstyle is. Vindicta is one of the key characters in Deadlock with a dark and vengeful backstory. She was a victim during the Salem witch trials, and Vindicta's spirit was revived during the supernatural event known as the Maelstrom, and she now wages a one-woman war against Hathorn's descendants in their modern-day Inquisition, protecting the supernatural from their influence. Pretty cool backstory. Nonetheless, Vindicta's playstyle focuses on keeping a distance, using her abilities to control enemies and picking off targets from afar. In the early stages of the laning phase, she tends to do a decent amount of damage if played right, especially when you use the corners to your advantage and the leaning mechanic in the game. If you didn't know, if you get up to an edge or a piece of cover, you kind of shimmy a little bit to the side, your character will actually lean, and only your gun will be showing. You can deal damage to the enemy and minions, but they can't do damage to you unless they get a super cheesy angle. This is great for dealing poke damage and keeping yourself at a healthy HP. But most of the time you're using your abilities and your rifle to try to chip at the enemy's HP until you get them low enough to use your ultimate ability, Assassinate, which essentially one-shots people at 50% HP. In combat, Vindicta excels at ranged engagements using her sniper abilities and supernatural powers. But what are her powers? Her first ability is titled Stake, where you throw a projectile out, it tethers all afflicted enemies to a location, limiting their movement. This is great for catching enemies that are trying to run away, or you're just trying to catch someone off guard. This ability is useful in many scenarios. You can also use it to help you get away from fights, and even helping your teammates try to escape from fights as well. On receiving your first ability point and putting it into the Stake ability, you get a plus 0.5 second tether duration. Something I forgot to mention is that the tether also scales in spirit power, which is pretty interesting. On your second ability point into the Stake ability, you get a minus 19 second cooldown. Now on your fifth and final ability point into the Stake ability, the enemies that you end up tethering with the Stake become disarmed, which is actually insane. And again, is extremely useful for trying to get away or even getting the jump on someone. Vindicta's second ability is called Flight. It grants her aerial mobility while boosting her spirit damage. Again, it's super useful for poking enemies while receiving little to no damage. It's super useful in the early stages of the game, and it's just an all-around useful ability throughout the entire duration of the game. You can use it to peek on your friendly lanes to see if they need help. On the first ability point into Flight, you get plus 50% base ammo while flying. On the second ability point, you get minus 14 second cooldown, and on the fifth and final ability, you get plus 12 spirit damage per bullet. Might not seem like a lot, but the spirit damage scales as you buy more spirit items. Something I think they also recently tweaked is that if you build like movement items, you actually fly around super fast, so something to note. Her third ability is titled Crow Familiar, where she sends out a crow to deal damage and inflict a bleed effect. Not only does it inflict bleed, but it also reduces their bullet resistance, so it's super useful when you're opening up a fight so that you can get a ton of early damage in. On the first ability point, your crow will actually ricochet up to 2 times towards other enemies within 15 meters. Super useful if you're in a giant team fight and enemies are stacked up on top of each other, or you're just trying to get all that farm for yourself. On the second ability point upgrade, it's a minus 16 second cooldown so that you're able to spam the crow a lot. Then her fifth and final upgrade on it makes it so that she has plus 3% bleed and suppresses healing by minus 40%. Pretty crazy if you ask me. Now her fourth and ultimate ability is titled Assassinate, and well, as the name implies, you assassinate someone. It's a high damage long range shot that deals bonus damage to weakened enemies, also rewarding her with bonus souls on a kill. To be more specific, you deal bonus damage to enemies with less than 50% HP. They also added another conditional that if you manage to land a headshot with the Assassinate ability, you get plus 20% damage. On the first, you get plus 600 souls per assassination. They also added it to where it's distributed amongst your team. You might be asking, well Duck, how do you know if you're gonna actually assassinate the enemy player? Well, while you're in the scoped ultimate, the enemy target will highlight in red, meaning that if you shoot them with the Assassinate ability, you will end up killing them. Now I'll say if they're about 50% HP, most of the time it'll be a one shot. Of course, it depends what they have built and who they're playing as. But if they're at 50% HP and you manage to get a headshot, even if they're not highlighted red, you're more than likely going to get the kill. Vindicta in the right hands can definitely be a terror to play against. Most of the time, how I see it, if you're low on HP and there's a Vindicta on the other team, let's just hope that she's not aiming for you. But now let's talk about what build to run with her. The build that I like to use for Vindicta currently is Recurrence Vindicta build. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. But his build focuses on the ultimate ability and survivability plus her weapon. It also has a nice layout for her ability points, starting out with Stake first, Crow second, then followed by Flight. So in the early stages of the laning phase, you're going to be buying a headshot booster, then you're going to have Combat Barrier. Combat Barrier is just a great build to have. Quicksilver Reload. Now he puts it on Crow. Now it's okay on Crow. I much rather have it on my ultimate ability, but that's just me. If it's wrong, or if it's better, just generally put it on Crow. But again, me personally, I like putting it on my ultimate ability so I can get a faster reload, and it gives more spirit power to the ultimate ability. Enduring Speed, when you put on Enduring Speed and you fly, you gain a 10 of initial velocity, and you just move around faster in flight. This is something they recently changed in the patch on 9.12, I believe, where you get more movement speed in flight when using movement items. Then we're going to, so it says sell tier 1 items if not enough slots. So the items you're probably going to be selling is Headshot, Hollow Point. You're going to want to sell extra health, and that's it. You want to keep the items that have components, usually. So these 4 have components later on, so you sold these 4. So you buy Improved Burst at tier 3, which is 3.5k. You get Spirit Shield health, weapon damage, abilities deal bonus spirit damage. And if they deal 125 damage or more in a single hit, targets are immune to your effects. Abilities deal bonus spirit damage if they deal 125 damage or more. Again, this is great when you're using your ultimate ability. Again, scaling in spirit. This also scales in spirit. And this is also scales in spirit. This also scales in spirit. It's pretty interesting that all of your abilities scale in spirit when she's a sniper, and you would think it's normal damage. Then you're going to be wanting to buy Pristine Emblem. Your attacks have additional weapon damage against enemies above 50% HP. This is great for when you're poking down enemies. Again, your attacks have additional weapon damage against enemies above 50% HP. So you're using this to bring them down to that 50% range so you can assassinate them. Then you're running a Sharpshooter. You get ammo, you get weapon fall off range, weapon zoom, bullet shield health. This is just great to have. You deal additional weapon damage when beyond the minimum distance. So again, Sharpshooter pairs great with Assassinate, because I'm pretty sure the passive also applies to the Assassinate. So that's good. So they're further away, the more damage you're going to do, in theory. So then you want Headhunter. Headhunter, you get plus 140 headshot bonus damage, 8% health per headshot, and plus 2 movement speed, so you're just faster moving. Now what's actually interesting, that I always thought was interesting, is that Headhunter is a component from High Velocity Mag. You would think it's from Headshot Booster, but it's High Velocity for whatever reason. Then, if you're taking a lot of damage, trying to get out of fights quicker, Veilwalker. Veilwalker is a great item to have. You get plus 12% ammo, plus 10% weapon damage, and both shields. Burst Fire is great to have. Fortitude is the plus 275 bonus health. Then the last upgrades. So tier 4, Glass Cannon, Lucky Shot. These are your standard Vindicta items that you get on like every Vindicta build. So Rebirth, if you feel like you need it for your team. Vampiric Burst, if you see that you're losing too much HP in fights, great to have. These are upgrades that you'll later upgrade. So the Rapid Recharge is great to have. Improved Spirit, great to have. And Boundless. All of these items are just going to make your assassinate do a ton of damage. Now situational. These are all items if you are needing help, you're dying too much, taking too much damage, you would build these items. Now of course, this is all again situational, but that was the build that I prefer. But anyways, that was my ultimate guide to Vindicta. Hopefully this video helped you in some type of way. Of course, like the video if you liked it, and well, subscribe if you're new. Have a great day, and I'll catch you in the next one.
Stick around. Time to move. Find them. Contact. I see you. portal has been destroyed.